Hey guys, and welcome to the channel. If you're new, please make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, and share the vids. Thank you very much. And for those who have already, your support is really greatly appreciated. I've got with me Amit, who you probably have seen from one of my previous videos. How are you doing, Amit?
I'm good, thank you. How are you, Faizan? You good?
I'm good, thank you. If you guys don't know, head coach from Cheam LTC, he's missing the tennis in this lockdown.
Certainly am.
Yeah, exactly.
Certainly am.
And Venu as well, who I'm sure you guys have seen it before as well. Venu, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Glad to be,
your moustache is looking really good at the moment.
Oh, thank
for November. It's looking very, very good. Cool. Let's go straight into it then. A very, very exciting final. We are just reviewing it straight after. So we thought we'd get together and have a quick chat about what's just gone on. So it wasn't a Nadal-Djokovic final like a lot of people may have wanted or thought might happen. It was Medvedev versus Thiem, the two, I guess, up-and-coming heirs to the throne, I guess you could say, after Nadal and Djokovic in Medvedev and Thiem. And in this case, Medvedev actually coming out on top, 4-6, 7-6, 6-4 in a really tight encounter. Before we go straight into the match, I just wanted to get your guys... well, maybe your thoughts before the match, maybe who you thought was going to win and why, and were you a little bit surprised at the result? Amit, just you first, I guess.
I picked Medvedev to win out. I'm not just saying this in retrospect. I picked him to win. I think these were the two best players of the tournament. You know, as much as we might have wanted Rafa and Novak to play. I think these two are still just ahead of the bunch. You know, I mean, Dominic beat did he beat Rafa? No, he beat Rafa, didn't he? He beat Rafa in a tight two-set match. He beat Rafa, and Medvedev had to beat the top three to win this. So I to be honest, I picked Medvedev even though he hadn't beaten Thiem recently. I mean, the most recently playing in the US Open, because he just, for me, was playing the best. Those two were the standout. So I thought, I wasn't surprised about the final, but I knew it could go either way. And to be honest, Dominic Thiem could have won that as well. So but what I'm really excited about is the future, because these two, I think, genuinely represent the next. I mean, we talked about the next gen. I think they are in this. They're in the mix now, and I think it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I agree. I think definitely with Thiem winning the US Open, like we mentioned before, that he definitely is. I think he's leading that pack, isn't he? And Medvedev, after winning this, I guess this is definitely his first kind of major title. He's won a couple of Masters 1000 tournaments, but this is the biggest he's won so far. So to kick on as well after making the US Open final in 2019, I think those two are going to be looking next year to really kick on and be challenging the semis and finals, like as you said.
And let's not forget, yeah.
Sorry, go on, Karen.
So he also won the Paris Indoors just about a week ago. So he's the hottest guy on tour, I think. So he showed it.
Yeah,
but
no,
100%. So let's see if he can carry on in January.
Yeah, exactly. No, definitely interesting to see. Benny, what about you quickly then on your thoughts before and whether you were surprised by the result?
I backed Thiem to win that game, but just the way I saw Medvedev play today, I wasn't surprised. I think I haven't seen much of him, and that's why I probably went for Thiem, considering he won the US Open. And I really liked how he beat Nadal. A few days ago, he was fantastic against Nadal. And I thought if he played like that today, he would have had a chance against Medvedev. But Medvedev was just a better player today, so fair play to him.
Yeah, no, agreed. And as Amit mentioned, I mean, both of them had to beat Novak and Novak and Rafa even to make the finals. And I think that's the first time it's happened in quite a few number of years in a tournament where the two finalists have, a finalist even has had to beat both to get through, and they made it through because of the oligopoly of all these players winning all the Grand Slams constantly, the same players over and over again. So it was nice to see it, a bit refreshing as well. Just to go through a little bit then, Medvedev, his style of play is pretty unorthodox from when you watch it, and this is something that I want to touch upon with you, Amit. I guess is the way he hits the ball. As a coach, surely you're looking at this and you're thinking the way his grip and his something that I think is really interesting is when he hits his forehand, his lead hand is almost non-existent at times, but his balance seems to be there. And something that was really interesting is that his coverage over the net in terms of his ground strokes is very low over the net. It's very low compared to the average tennis player, I think. And there was a really interesting stat that I saw, which was actually on BBC while watching, which was so his average coverage over the net on his forehand was 61 centimeters, and just as a comparison, Thiem's was 78. And similarly, with his backhand, it was 54 centimeters compared to 72 centimeters for Thiem's backhand. As a coach, is watching that, are you kind of ripping your hair out a little bit, thinking, "Oh my god, how does it work?" Or are you thinking, actually, this is a one-off, and the way that he plays, it works for him, and you can kind of see the mechanics behind it?
I mean, I think that's a good question, but I think a lot of tennis purists and a lot of tennis analysts are looking at Medvedev and going, "Sure, he doesn't. He's very idiosyncratic. He's not this norm of a tennis. He doesn't much even look like a tennis athlete, let alone his tennis strokes are very, very sort of, not the usual. However, if you go past that, look further, and look at function over form, and he delivers, and how he delivers the ball and racket and the racket going through, it's very good. And the fact is, it's repeatable. Okay, if it wasn't repeatable, then you'd be worried. But he wouldn't be where he is now at the top echelons of the game, where he is, if he couldn't repeat those strokes. So as much as he's an odd, unorthodox player, and what I mean by that is just conventionally, he's someone who takes the ball quite late, plays a little closer to his body. It's all last minute, and it's all quite quick arm. It looks to the average viewer that this is just a rushed shot, but in actual fact, the mechanics and the fundamentals are sound, because he wouldn't, as I said, he'd be missing it. He'd be missing those shots. So actually, you look and deliver the racket, it's fine, and as it should be. So he's just all arms and legs. He's a really quirky tennis player, and what I like about it is there's really not many people who play like him, if anyone who plays like him. He's 6'6", he's got a big serve, but he doesn't have that conventional power game. But he moves unbelievably well. He has amazing tennis IQ, and that is one of his gifts. His tennis IQ is very good, and it's just variety is good. What concerns me, we can talk about, is just, if you notice, a lot of players were playing slice, because, like you alluded to, his margins are low. He's a flat ball striker. So because he's a low flat striker, he might be prone to making mistakes, and he can't be offensive. He's very, very good. The better you hit it, the better he hits it. So they've all found that out. So he's just one of those players who's really good at absorbing players. So, but in terms of his style, it's quite refreshing. So I think it's good for the game. Whereas when you see Dominic Thiem play, it's all physical. It's all in Rafa mold. You see it. It's quite beautiful. So it's different. But yeah, no, I really like the way that Medvedev has created and has come into his own, and I do see, hopefully it's not a one-off. I do see him now kicking on, and I think these two. I mean, I know Dominic Thiem's won a slam, but I think if I was a betting man, I'd say these two are odds on to win another slam next year.
Yeah, the way you talked about how Medvedev, he soaks up all the pressure. I feel like the harder you hit the ball at him, the harder it always comes back. He's very used to the ball coming at him quite quickly, and as you said, he hits it quite flat. So I do feel like he's very comfortable hitting.
Very, very.
Yeah.
Watching him play is like an old 80s computer game where there's a ping pong where the ball's going like right attack. The faster it goes, the faster he can get there, and he constantly gets the ball.
Yeah,
he's very, very good. So yeah, it's just, I think for watching Rafa and Dominic play him, they had to think about how to play him. They could.
Yeah, and he's got all the tricks in the book as well, right? I mean, he has that underarm serve, which obviously has been talked about a lot as well. But he's a very good thinker, I think. One thing I wanted to point out, actually, is you're talking about Thiem. He's obviously got more of an orthodox game compared to Medvedev. But at the time when Rafa first came onto the scene, he was seen as very unorthodox. And I guess Medvedev is a similar mold. So, as you said, it can work if it's functioning. You said mechanically it does work. Venu, I want to touch upon something that actually Amit's mentioned. So a lot of players have been hitting backhand slices, especially to Medvedev, because Medvedev hits with very low coverage over the net. So Thiem used that quite a bit in this match. So he took the game plan that Rafa had in the previous semi-final, where Rafa, when he did use it at times, it did work, and he used it, and to a degree, Medvedev did look a bit uncomfortable again while using it. Did you think that was an effective tactic for a Thiem to use, considering his backhand topspin especially has been very effective this week? He went from hitting, I think it was 68% topspin backhands to 23% topspin backhands, so less than half in this match. What did you think of that, Venu? Do you think obviously he lost in the end, but when he was using that shot, that backhand slice, did you think it was effective, or do you think it became a bit predictable at times?
I think initially it was effective, but I think it was clear by the third set, Medvedev kind of got used to it, and he was working it out, and he just hitting it back. And I think Thiem was hitting a lot more on fast errors as well. I do think Medvedev did get used to it, actually. And I know what Amit said. It's just amazing to see how well he moves for a tall fella. And it's a 6'6". He moves so well. And you're thinking, they can get even taller and they can be playing right. So it's a fair play to him. But I think he did get used to it. And I think, I don't know if Thiem could have played how he played against Nadal, if you could just force him off the court. But as Amit was saying, I think he would have hit stroke for stroke, I guess, and would have outpowered him back. So it's an interesting tactic to use, but to use it all the time, I think becomes too predictable.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. I think it was effective, at times, but I think I agree with you in that third set. I think to a degree he started to overuse it a little bit, and I think there was definitely a spot where he thought to himself, actually, I need to stop doing this constantly because he's adapting to it, Medvedev. And I guess after you've had someone had 4 sets in 2 days of people just hitting constantly backhand slices at you to your backhand, 75% of the time, then you get used to it, I guess, and you adapt, right? Because you're getting the same balls over and over again. Something I wanted to mention then is, you commented on Medvedev's serving, and I think he served exceptionally well today. So just to go through his first serve, so first serve percentage of 75% and 13 aces, and behind his first serve, 73% of points won, 58% behind his second serve. I just think at times I know in the first set he double faulted to get broken in that first set, but apart from that, I thought it was very solid. And as you mentioned, he's a very big server, and it definitely, especially in that final set, was a difference because as soon as he broke, he didn't really give Thiem a sniff after that. What do you think of his serve? Because I think it just looks very easy and effortless at times. And we talked about Rublev overhitting his serve, but for me, Medvedev's is very smooth.
I totally agree. Just using his long levers, 6'6". He's easy power. He's not forcing it. He's getting 75. What did you say? 70, nearly 75% of serves in.
Yeah, 75.
That's incredible. So to do that with the serve he's got, he's winning a lot of points. So behind that, he can. I mean, he's not someone who's got like an overtly aggressive game, but you give him a short ball, he'll murder it, like any top player. So what he does is backs up his serve very well. But just the fact that he gets so many in, I think is really, really good. His second serve, his motion's very fluid, and I think I think it's an easy motion. I think it's going to be one of the most reliable weapons on tour. So, and that's good for him because that also then shortens points because he does like long points. He's someone who likes to play long, protracted points. But on his serve, he can just get through his games a bit quicker. So it puts pressure on the opponent. So whereas most of these guys don't have that. So I think that's a good point. I think having that many, I think he served very well. I think he's close. Look at his tournament statistics. It was about 70% all the way through. So that's incredible to serve consistently about 130, 135. And doing that, that's pretty impressive. But yeah, I think that's another reason why he's got a lot of potential.
One thing that I want to touch upon, Venu, actually, I want to ask you about is, so we talk about his serving, his returning. So I've mentioned this in one of my previous videos that he, against Nadal, normally his average return kind of distance is 5 meters, which is pretty incredible because Nadal returns from 2 meters behind the baseline. He returns 5 meters, which is even further back. And I know he's a lot taller and he's got good wingspan, etc. But it's just crazy to think about. Against Nadal, though, Nadal he did very well in the first set and he capitalized on that. And in the second set, Medvedev came forward so he actually was returning 2 meters. So he came forward 3 meters and he started returning and hitting 50% of the rallying shots inside the baseline. So that 1+ shot. In this match, again, he seemed to come in a little bit on the return because he realized that Thiem tried to hit a lot of drop shots early doors, I thought. And we mentioned about him hitting that backhand slice, but a couple of them were kind of short, angular ones as well to make it kind of difficult. Because even though I feel like Medvedev moves very well in general, and laterally even he moves very well. Up and down, it's not as good, I don't feel. And so Thiem tried to capitalize on that. Yeah, Venu, I wanted to get your opinion on, as someone who is around about his height. So I just wanted to get your opinion on, in terms of him. So for you, okay, so if you're returning that far back, did you just find it astounding that he could return from that far back?
Yeah, it's very impressive. And I won't say he's as tall. I'm not as tall as him, but I'm only 6'3", he's 6'6". He's got a few inches on me, but it's still very impressive. That's 5 meters back. I don't think the courts at our club go back 5 meters.
No.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah.
I always complain that I run into the fence, but it's impressive, and I think at that level, considering the serves are coming at them that quick, and the fact that he can move really well and get to them, and I think if the fact he can get to a lot of serves, get them, return them back, I think that does suit his game. So yeah, it's an important skill, and I think a lot of players struggle to adapt to that, to a player that stands very back. I'm surprised people haven't tried to do underarm serve him, or if he does.
Well, that's a good point. They could have done that. Yeah, they should have done it to him, actually, because he's so far back.
Problem is, he's the only one that does it, isn't it? Him and Kyrgios,
I guess. If he's so far back, he's a good guy to do it.
Yeah.
Too.
Is there some etiquette to that, or you can just do it?
I mean, there is. I mean, not
unwritten rule, isn't it?
It's not in pro level. In pro level, really, anything goes, right? You wouldn't put your hand up and say, by the way, I'm going to hit a drop shot. So in actual fact, anything goes. If your opponent stands 5 meters behind the baseline, it's a shot you should be trying to do, frankly. So yeah, I think etiquette, we talk about etiquette, it's maybe club etiquette, but if you're going to play seriously, and now it's a new shot of the, it's, I don't know if you know, 1989 when Michael Chang played Ivan Lendl, he used it. He was cramping. He used it in 1989 as a surprise tactic. Ended up winning the point, ended up winning the match, ended up winning the tournament. That was in the quarterfinals. So it's not new. It's just something that's not done often. I mean, Nick Kyrgios has started doing that, so why not? But you're right. I think if you're standing so far back, I don't know why you're not using a drop shot, especially if you've got one of those big serves. But it's hard because if you do it badly, the other guy's going to take advantage of it. So that's why they don't do it that often, because you can't use it. You got to use it sparingly.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because like Medvedev said, he did it against who was it? It was in one of his first matches. I think it was Zverev. Was it Zverev? Yeah. He did it against, and he ended up winning the point, but Zverev got to it. and he said he didn't want to disrespect him by doing it at 40 love up. So as he
Yeah.
said, maybe there's like an unwritten like etiquette that you don't want to take the mick almost. If you're kind of controlling the point, the service game. But I guess I don't think anyone would really complain too much. I know Nadal said, "Look, if you're going to use it, then use." I know there was the first.
Nadal
when it first happened. Yeah. Nadal serious about it. Yeah, exactly. But he said, yeah. Eventually, he was like, "Okay, it's fine. You can use it, but as long as you're going to do it seriously." Okay, so in terms of just quickly go through a couple of the big moments in the match. So, I mean, the first game of that, I think, what really to me epitomized this match was Thiem's first service game, which was 10 minutes, which was him struggling and scrapping to hold. And even though I think it was a very tight match, I think the difference between the two players, I think the biggest difference for me was the serving, as I mentioned. And I know Thiem's got a big serve, but I just feel like he didn't hit as many first serves or as well behind the serve as Medvedev did. And it showed because there were so many matches where he had to save. So Medvedev only won 1 out of 9 break points. So whereas with Thiem, I think he had 4 break points and won 1. So I think that kind of speaks volumes. And that first game, he was really struggling. And we know he's a fighter, and mentally they're both very strong. But to me, as soon as that happened, I just had a feeling. You said, obviously, Amit, that Medvedev loves long points as well. And Thiem was just struggling really to get through service games as well as Medvedev. And that kind of just set it up for me. And just going through, just quickly into that match. So Thiem managed to seal it with a very lucky net cord, which kind of flew past Medvedev. Medvedev didn't look very happy about it at all, and Benny's shaking his head because he's like, "If that happened to me, I wouldn't be happy about it at all." That's why, aren't you, Benny? Oh, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the first set. Actually, I think Daniel played the better at the start. He was in the games, and he just had one sloppy game where he had an easy smash to win the game, and then lost
love up as well.
I think it was 40 love up.
Yeah.
So it was really one blip. Sometimes he's guilty of playing a bit too quickly. So he can rush it. So that's he's got to work on that. Is not playing bad games, because barring that,
he plays very quickly in between, doesn't he? His service game, like when I think they were saying that Thiem at one point was. They were basically I think umpire said to him, like, you need to kind of quicken up because it's on the servers. It's to do with the server, isn't it? How quickly the server wants to go. So he was basically like going straight through it. And Venu said he was 40 love up. And yeah, you're right. I mean, he shanked that overhead, didn't he, at 40-30?
Yeah, and that was pivotal because it could have gone to the tiebreak. Could have gone to it. But as it happened, dominant Thiem carried on, broke, and won that set. Yeah. And then it was just a bit of a lull, wasn't there? Between you weren't sure if Thiem was actually going to take control of the match.
Yeah,
it was just one of those really complicated matches where you weren't sure about the patterns. So it was difficult to really. I think midway through this, once you knew Medvedev was settled in the second set, then you were kind of predicting. Although there was a bit of pressure on Medvedev in the second set, but I think by that time, I think you were ready for the tiebreak. I think watching that match, and then it could have been anyone's. But I don't know how you saw it.
Yeah, just quickly before we go into that second set tiebreak, there was a shot actually in that game where Thiem broke, which was like a beautiful reverse forehand drop shot, which I don't know if you guys remember, but. To open up the break point, and I just thought I was such a really for me as someone who occasionally does like a drop shot, as Venu knows, I just thought it was such a good drop shot. Venu, what did you think quickly of that drop shot? Because I watched it, and I just thought the way he adjusted at the last second, he didn't make it really obvious as well, and that opened up the break point. And I just thought it was really good touch and feel at the net, and I'm someone who can definitely appreciate a really good drop shot. So quickly, I just wanted a quick 2 cents on that.
Yeah, I think it was the right shot to play, and as you were saying, Fazan, he disguised it very well as well. I think that's important for a drop shot. So I think that's one thing Thiem's been working on, his drop shots, and he effectively used it against Nadal as well. And there were some shots today that he pulled off. So yeah, it was a very good shot to watch and to pull off actually.
Yeah, and Amit, from a more of a, I guess, technical standpoint, what did you think of that shot? Because yeah, he saw Medvedev was far back. We know that he does tend to stay back. He's not very natural coming forward to the net anyway. So he took advantage of that. But just the skill and ability, I guess, of that shot to play.
I mean, it's just becoming much more common. It's much more now frequent that they're using, especially when these guys are with huge forehands and the opponent goes back, and the last thing they're expecting is a drop shot, and that's happening more and more. So more than ever before, because all your weight is going backwards as an opponent, ready to be on defense, and suddenly you're the way. So the quickness of thought, the presence of mind, and the technique to pull it off. But if you look at it, if any club player wants to look at it and why that's successful, because you want to look at it and why that was a successful play, is you just look at your opponents, look at the position they're in, look at the position that what dominant team was in. It was really, really close to the court. It didn't have to be say for club players. It doesn't have to be a great drop shot because it was so far back. So that's why it was a very good tactic, and there were quite a few drop shots actually. So, it's a tactic that I think a lot of pros are using more often now. But yeah, good shot to watch.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree. I do love playing, probably too much sometimes. But yeah, so that tie break, as you mentioned, Amit, was, I think, as you said, there was a little bit of a lull. It wasn't quite as maybe high level as that first set, I think, which was a bit ping pong. One thing I wanted to point out before we go into that tie break is something that was very impressive for me was Thiem's average returns. So he actually had made 71% of returns during the tournament, which I think shows how solid he was. But in the match up to that point, it was 81%, which I'm pretty sure probably plummeted in that third set, considering how well Medvedev came back and served. But I just thought that was a really interesting stat, just to show how well these guys return nowadays as well. So 2-0 up in the breaker, and then Medvedev just, 7 points in a row and just completely blitzed Thiem, really. Big serving, big shots. I think Thiem just didn't know what happened, really. What do you think of that? Really impressive, right?
I think if memory serves me, he hits an unforced error to lose the first point. Slightly sloppy point.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Team's 2-0 up, and then you think, but he regroups very quickly. He's a very quick learner, and he knows good problem solver. So he's always thinking. That's why he's really got good tennis IQ. So yeah, that's the way he rolled with it, and that's why, because if you notice, he served really well. From that point on, he served really well and took control of that tiebreak. And then I think once he got his teeth in the match, then you knew it was just like, it was really 50-50. But yeah, I thought it was really impressive for him. He just took it to Thiem, didn't he?
Yeah, 100%. What about you, Venu? What did you think of that display from Medvedev? Just really impressive, just a power through right at that point, considering that he was facing a very kind of precarious time, 2-0 down, set down as well.
Yeah, as you both are saying, it does take a lot of mental strength to do that, and such a big part of these professional tennis players' game now. And yeah, fair play to him to finish that off, and obviously he was serving really well, and the Thiem just didn't really have an answer.
Yeah, no, 100% agreed. So in that third set, so I mentioned, we briefly touched upon, Thiem obviously was almost kind of exclusively using that backhand slice, and then eventually I think realised, so he was love 30 down, and at the first game of that third set even, he was love 30 down. Yeah, and he kept on slicing basically to Medvedev, and he realised it's not working. And the rest of that game, he thought, I've got to go back to maybe what I was doing, and it was working effectively in the last few matches, and back myself. I feel like it was almost like he was a bit afraid to kind of commit to hitting that topspin backhand, because he thought, if I do that and I don't really, I don't hit it in that corner, or I don't place it correctly, and if it's off just a little bit, the placement, then Medvedev will, he'll punish me for it. And I thought that was in the back of his mind a lot of the time. but I think he forced himself to go back to type almost, and he managed to hold there. Yeah, one thing I wanted to mention is Medvedev's backhand is very. I feel like it's, apart from the grip, it's very basic, but it's quite effective in terms of the way he hits it. Kind of similar to Djokovic's, I think the commentator was saying. I wanted to get your quick thoughts on that, Amit, in terms of his backhand. What do you think of it?
Yeah. I mean, I like his game, but it's not like Djokovic's or Zverev's, where he hits through the line. He really is an absorber of pace, and he gets low to it. But I think it's a really nice shot, actually. Yeah.
Fair enough. I agree. It's probably. I don't think it's. I think Djokovic's two-hander for me is the best out there.
Yeah.
For sure, it's so good, especially when he's stretching in the splits.
Unbelievable.
That. God, just incredible to see.
Unbelievable, yeah.
So that third set, obviously, in the end, Medvedev ran out 6-4, and the biggest, game was at that 2-2. Team saved a break point, 30-40 down, but Medvedev eventually just kept on coming, and he ended up coming to the net out of his comfort zone, and he hit a really good approach volley and put away that second volley, which is really surprising. I know Tim Hemming was really happy on commentary. He was talking about it going, I think he loves a good volley, doesn't he? As you said, I'm a very good volleyer. Venu, were you surprised that Medvedev broke at that point, or do you think that maybe the momentum was with Medvedev at that point?
I think, to be honest, I don't think I was that surprised. I think Medvedev had the momentum, and also I think Thiem looked a bit tired as well, and I think it just shows Medvedev's game plan was to basically, and I think that's what's really worked for him the last, on the tour, that he can, win his service games really quickly because of his big serve, and just really, really make his opponents work really hard. And I think eventually Thiem just kind of gave way, and gave him, finally broke after the ninth break point. He got it, and was it 4-2 up?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that was that really, and he just basically finished. He won the last two service games really well, and won the game. So I just think Thiem did look a lot more tired, and I think that was probably part of Medvedev's game plan.
No, that's fair enough. In terms of the match as a whole, Amit, did you think this was, because Thiem did look a little bit tired, but do we have to give a lot of credit to Medvedev and say, actually, you know what, it's just to do with he played that well on the day. It's not to do with necessarily Thiem's level dropping a little bit. It's just that on the day, Medvedev, his game is unorthodox, and just the way he played in terms of serving as well, that he was just a rightful winner. I mean, obviously he didn't drop. I don't think he, apart from, this match is the first set he dropped. I think, no, sorry, he dropped one against Nadal as well. Sorry, my mistake.
I think you're right. I go along with that. Yeah, so again, he went undefeated. So I think it's the latter. He deserved it. It's not that, take no doubt, maybe Dominic Thiem was a little tired, but it's more emotional just because he had chances in the second set. I think, if anyone should be tired, it could have been Medvedev, because he had a late match with Rafa last night, which was a long one. So he had that late match. Although Thiem did have a long match with Djokovic, but he had a few more hours. But I actually think, I just think on an indoor court, it suited him a bit more. So I think it gave. I think just today as a one-up, I think he was a deserved winner, and I think I'm really looking forward to seeing future. I'm a big Federer fan, Roger. So I'm looking forward to him obviously coming back. But for the next gen, I think to see these guys compete and challenge the top guys is really refreshing for the sport. I think that's what I'm. I don't think it's a flash in the pan. I do now think. I wasn't thinking that before, So I had question marks on Medvedev's mentality, but I do now think he's in line to winning a slam. And this is the fifth slam, so to speak. It's not quite slam, but it's the fifth biggest tournament. So it's a big tournament. So it'll give him a lot of confidence.
Do you think he's probably odds-on favourite to win the Australian Open? That goes ahead.
No. I'd still say Djokovic. Djokovic is not the odds-on. I mean, I think odds-on if Australian Open happens as yet. I don't know if you know the Australian ministers. They've talked about quarantining the players. So I imagine it will go ahead. But I think Djokovic is still going to be the favourite. But
probably closely followed by Thiem, right? I'd assume. Because he won the US Open.
I would say so. I would say in Medvedev and Rafa. Those would be the lineups, and then you're looking at the others, So it's going to be interesting, really. I think it'll be a really interesting year to unfold. I think it is the time now because inevitable time, father time does take a toll. It'll be interesting to see what Roger can do, but at 39. But Rafa and Djokovic. Rafa's going to be 35 next year.
Yeah,
Djokovic 34. They're amazing, and Djokovic particularly is amazing.
Yeah,
they're all amazing athletes. But so I think it's really going to be quite exciting to watch, and I'll be hopefully watching more tennis next year as well as playing it.
Yeah, hopefully. I think you're right. It will probably go ahead, but I think they're thinking of moving it at least a week or 2 weeks back. Maybe it's because of that quarantine, because you have to quarantine. I think it's 14 days. The players won't be very happy because they'll be stuck. They won't be able to play in that period probably. So, not properly anyway. So that'll be interesting. Then lastly, before we wrap up, actually, Amit, do you think then, considering obviously Nadal and Djokovic were in the semis, then these kind of younger gen players, as you said, have come through. They've beaten them and they've kind of stolen the show. Do you think now it is a little bit of a changing of guard? Because I think in the last few years, there's been, it's going to happen. It's just never really happened in the last few years. Now, do you think this is the time, that this is the moment that actually maybe next year we might have not just maybe one different person like Thiem winning it, but you might have two of the slams. It might not be one of the big three, for example, winning a slam.
I can see that. I can definitely see that, but I think it's too early to call the change of guard. And I'll tell you why. And to answer that question is, if Djokovic is still favourite for the Aussie Open, and Rafa will still be favourite or one of the favourites, certainly for French Open again. And then it'll be a host of a few players at Wimbledon. Even Roger has a chance there. So, you're looking at the usual suspects. So until they suddenly pushed out, so I think the next gen need to push them out, start winning the big Grand Slams more regularly. So Thiem just won that. So it's early. I think they've got to back it up now and win a few more. So the likes of Medvedev. The one thing I would say is, the ATP Finals is a best of three. It's a totally different animal to best of five. That's a totally different beast. So, they've got to learn to win those big matches and compete day in, day out. And then we'll see. So, I think the jury's still out. I think it's coming to a point where they're certainly entering that phase. But I think I wouldn't say it's quite the changing of the guard.
No, that's fair enough. Right, Venu, do you think we could have four completely different? Let's say four. Then, do you think we could have four completely different winners? No Djokovic, no Nadal, or do you agree with Amit? Do you think actually, what? As he said, I think on paper, I think Rafa's definitely still the favourite for the French, and Novak's probably the favourite for the Australian, and who knows? I think they're host of players for the Wimbledon. But what do you think, Venu?
I think I agree with Amit, and we have to mention that with the US Open. Last year, Djokovic was disqualified from that, so it wasn't like Thiem beat him in the final. Djokovic hit line judge and is disqualified. So that
he did.
Adds to Amit's point that I do think that the top three still will boss the slams, but You know, I do think Thiem or Medvedev will win one of the Grand Slams this year. But I just think one of them. I don't think they're going to win. They're going to win all between them, win all four along with Zverev or Tsitsipas. But I think for the years they'll start to.
Yeah.
Then that change will happen. We'll see it over the next couple of years. I think we're going to be in the transition phase. Now it's happening, and it's a part of me is quite sad that it's happening, but a part of me is looking forward to it because I think.
It's going to be very sad. Father Time actually takes control eventually, right? So ultimately, that's going to dictate a lot of things. But people have been talking about the next generation. But I'm agreeing with you, Venu. Yeah, I think it's just going to be a process. I think they're going to be shoved, but you never know. I think if anyone's going to win a few more, it's Thiem and Medvedev. I think they're next two. And then the jury's still out on Zverev and Tsitsipas to win. And if you were looking at a group of players like them challenging, that would only support because you're still reliant on those two to beat Djokovic and Nadal and Federer. So it's still relatively few players who are going to compete and beat these guys. But yeah, it'd be exciting next year. So for sure.
Okay, whilst I've got you guys on there, actually, one last question, sorry. Apart from the group of players at the ATP Tour Finals, so Amit, then you first, who's your one to watch in terms of a player to watch for 2021?
Okay,
if you've got anyone off the top of your head, so not
I do,
in this
Yannick
top 8.
He's the Austrian... Italian player, not Australian.
Italian, he looked really good in the French.
Very good. He's 19, 20. He's definitely got it. So there's quite a few, but I'd pick him.
Okay, that's fair enough. Venu, do you have anyone in mind off the top of your head?
What's happened to Kyrgios?
On this top
What's happened to him? What's happened to Kyrgios?
You go with Kyrgios. Kyrgios could probably turn up for a Grand Slam, and who knows, he could blitz. He's got a talent. I think he's probably one of the most talented players on the tour, in my opinion. He doesn't have a coach, I don't think. but me and Venu pointed out something which is quite interesting, which I didn't know about, that he suffered from mental health, didn't he, Venu? So I might do a video on that. I didn't know about that, and maybe look into that. Maybe that's part of the reasons why he's gone through the trials and tribulations he has. But yeah, so Kyrgios for you.
Yeah, Kyrgios.
How about you? How about you, Faisal?
Oh, it's really difficult, actually. I don't know. Sin is definitely one to look out for, but I think Shapovalov.
Yeah,
Shapovalov
or Aliassime.
Olga Aliassime. Yeah, he's
they need to kick on. So I'm looking forward to those three really stepping up.
Yeah, interesting to see how they do, actually. Even if they win a couple of, one or two Masters 1000 tournaments, then it's a step in the right direction. See, hopefully we can get a new generation of players coming through. I think this tournament was definitely a plus in that you have people being able to beat anyone. Okay. That's all I've got. Do you guys have anything else you want to touch upon before we wrap up?
No. Just thank you for letting me on, and look forward to the 2021 season.
Yeah, Venu, anything from you?
Shame that was the last ATP.
Yeah, that's true.
But what can you say? That's all I'm.
It's a shame, but a fitting match and good. Yeah.
Yeah, me and Venu were supposed to go to one of the days. But what can you do? We're going to see a whole day, but we'll be in 2021, I'm sure. Maybe do a lads holiday or something.
I'll join you.
We could do a Cheam non-tennis trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, thank you very much. Thanks, Amit. Thank you, Venu, as well, for both coming on. I really greatly appreciate it as well, taking your time out. And guys, if you haven't already, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the videos and share them. Amit, I'll put Amit's details as well for Ace Amit in this video in the description as well. And thank you very much. Stay safe, guys, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you.
Take care.